Well, my brother's flight's delayed, so there's no point hanging around the airport. Just thought I'd go for a little walk. Because there was something that I touched on earlier that I kind of wanted to talk about. But it's a difficult topic because people get upset very, very easily. Especially if they think you're criticizing one of their teachers, who they see to be very, very special. So there's one of these teachers that many people see to be a very, very special and realized being, and that's Krishnamurti. Now, I was not old enough really to have experienced his teachings. I could have. Maybe if I came to the spiritual path when I was younger, I could have been that fortunate. So I have no personal experience of this, other than watching videos. But also, like I said before, that I've met very many people who were his students, who had actually followed him around from place to place. And they used to record everything he said, every word he said. But there's something that always struck me as very, very obvious and was similar between these people, all these different people. Of course, now they're pretty well all dead, really. You know, maybe a few of them are in their 90s. It's a long time ago. So they used to go from place to place and follow Krishnamurti around and make these recordings. And then one of these guys had said he had all these audio tape recordings that he'd done of Krishnamurti's talks over the years, and he didn't know what to do with them. It was like he was trying to find somewhere he could donate these recordings to, or something, do something with them. But it was almost as if they sort of no longer had any relevance. And not only that, there's this general feeling that in the end they were of no benefit. All those teachings didn't change his life in any way. In fact, when I met him was at the end of his life. He was quite old, and he was a completely worldly person. He wasn't like a accomplished yogi or something. For all those decades of following Krishnamurti around, then it's not like he gained realization. In fact, he was very worldly. What he did when he was about 80 years old or something is he took his retirement money and he bought a fancy shiny blue sports car worth a lot of money. So you can see he was completely worldly. It's almost as if all those years of listening to Krishnamurti had done nothing whatsoever to change his basic view of the world. And it wasn't just him. It was pretty well everyone I'd met who was one of Krishnamurti's students in the past. Were all the same. It's almost as if everything belonged to the Guru. The Guru had realization, experience, understanding, and not only that, was incredibly eloquent. And the students were all hypnotized by his charisma. His speech was like some kind of nectar that had the ability to put people into a trance. But in the end, unless you actually put this into practice and you yourself gain some spiritual understanding from this, then what benefit is it? Not only what benefit is it to you yourself, but what benefit does it bring to society as a whole, to spiritual communities? If all the power lies in the hands of the Guru, and you, the disciple, have nothing. Now, I don't know what Krishnamurti was like. I can't judge him. As I said, the only thing I have to go on are the videos I've seen. But I did see one particular video It was in an archive of his teachings. It was a teaching given somewhere in England, I suppose. And he was giving a usual lecture. They went on for a long time. And at one point, an American fellow interrupted, and he asked a question. And Krishnamurti was so affronted, he nearly fell off his seat. He was livid. You could see that by this interruption, somehow this fellow had broken the trance. And I think over the decades, he got used to this, because he was a very eloquent speaker, very intelligent, very learned. And his voice had some sort of sweetness. And it very easily inducted people into a kind of hypnosis. But to me, because Krishnamurti was so affronted and was so obviously upset, like I say, he nearly fell off his chair, that was an indication that he himself didn't really have spiritual qualities. I mean, he could have been faking it, right? He could have been doing it for another reason, to give his students an education. But to me, it just looked like he got angry, that he was very proud, and that this interruption was not welcome. And he chastised this individual. Of course, there could be other reasons for that. And then there's one other very important thing that I heard. And this was from Krishnamurti's own mouth. He said, "Some of you have been unfortunate enough to have been listening to this speaker for 50 years. And he said, and why, for heaven's sake, haven't you changed?" Now, when I heard that, that sounded so true to me, because that's exactly the experience I had with Krishnamurti's own students. That whilst the Guru was alive, and whilst they could follow him around and listen to his words of wisdom, then there was a kind of spiritual trance happening. There was a type of meditation. They were induced into some kind of spiritual knowledge. But as soon as the Guru passed from this world, then they were left with nothing. And were just merely ordinary beings. Now, practice shouldn't be like that. Practice should bring results. And the way it's taught is that the student gains the realization of the master. Their minds become one. And this means that that level of realization has to be passed on to the disciple. Because if that realization is not imbued within the disciple, then the tradition is finished. There's no more lineage. The lineage depends on the student coming to the same realization that the master had. And I don't know of, and I haven't met anyone who is carrying the lineage of Krishnamurti. Of course, they could exist. I would be very happy if somebody could dispel my ignorance and educate me on this issue. But as far as I know, they don't exist. So anyway, those are just my thoughts on J. Krishnamurti. I do have the greatest respect for him for what I know, and I don't know much. But for me, there needs to be continuity. And there needs to be lineage holders. Because if there aren't, then the Dharma stops dead in its tracks. And I don't want that to happen. See you later.